Hello everyone and welcome back to another video with me, Van Blugnoot. I'm doing a review on a variable ND filter today. The Gloxy one. This one. I'll show you what's in the box and the specs on it. This won't be a very scientific review because I'm not that scientific about stuff. But if it does the job, it does the job. So without further ado, let's get this show on the road. Roll that intro. Just kidding. So in the box you get, open the box, you get a little pouch. Not very sturdy, but at least you get a pouch. In the said pouch you get your variable ND filter. It does have a lens cap of course, and it does come with the step up ring from 67 to 77 mil, which is also a plus. I didn't expect this, so I'm quite happy about it. On the side you do get indicators, however it doesn't have a stop mechanism, meaning there's no feedback. You don't know where it is, so you constantly have to check. Okay, I'm at minimum, I'm gonna change the scene and I need to turn it to the third stop or whatever the case may be. So there's no feedback. That's one of the bummers there is. Another thing is this is ND2 to ND400, meaning putting this on the minimum option reduces your light by 2 stops. Putting it on the max, which is 400 or 8 stops, is 8 additional stops, meaning in total you're gonna lose 10 stops of light. Why would I use a variable ND filter? Well, in my case, doing sports videos and photos, it's a constant hassle to change between a normal just one set ND8 filter, turning it off, take some photos, then putting it back on to do videos. Why do I put back the ND filter when doing videos? Because I want to keep the 180-degree rule. Meaning I'm shooting 24 frames a second, shutter speed must be 1/150th to get the correct amount of motion blur. I mean, look at that. That's perfect. Without doing this, if I crank up my shutter speed, I'm gonna have a choppy motion. Meaning putting on a variable ND filter will keep me from removing the filter altogether. So it's gonna speed up the whole process. If you're not familiar with how the ND filter works, let me quickly explain to you. It's like sunglasses for your lens. So meaning, in order for me to keep the 180-degree rule, I need to adjust this so I keep the 1/50th shutter speed and the 24 frames a second. If I remove this, I'll have to crank up the shutter speed to around 300, 400, 500 or even maybe 1000, you never know. It depends on the situation. And that's gonna make your footage look terrible, not cinematic at all. Now I remove the filter to take a photo, which is fine. I can play around with it, I can change the settings, I can go nuts. Then I change back to video, I need to screw on the filter again and then adjust my settings and then I can continue, meaning you lose some opportunity for good looking shots. That's where a variable ND filter comes in. So at minimum I lose 2 stops of light, but with photos that's not that bad. I can crank the ISO a bit and maybe play around with shutter speed. I can't really go too much below 500, especially when doing mountain biking, cycling or obstacle course racing or whatever the case may be. So in that case, crank up the ISO a little bit, means only 2 stops. It's not that big of a deal. But with the constant ND8 on, I lose 8 stops of light, meaning I'm gonna bump that ISO around 3000, which is not gonna provide the best looking images at all. Hence me looking into the variable ND filter. So this is the Gloxy, it's cheap, it's 1,000 rand. Let's take some test shots of outside. I was in the field the other day. I took some shots with this and I took some shots with the Hoya ND filter. Let's compare them. As far as I know, most filters, even expensive ones, does have a tint. If you do proper white balancing before a shoot, it should make your post-processing work a bit easier. With that said, let's go take some shots outside. Okay, so now that you've seen the footage, what can be seen is there is a little bit of a greenish tint, which, as I've mentioned before, can be reduced in post. It's gonna take a bit more work, but it can be done. This, however, did surprise me. The only drawback I really have is the fact that there's no stopping mechanism. So there's no feedback as to where I am on the filter. I constantly need to keep an eye on it. Other thing is, will you pay $60 to put on a $1,000 lens? Will you compromise your glass quality for something this cheap? Are you willing to compromise on your image quality? So here the two images next to each other is blown up to 400%. Hoya on the left, Gloxy on the right. So you might lose some sharpness, but you can add sharpness in post and you can fix the color in post. Is this a good option? I think yes. If you have money to spend on this, or you're looking for a more expensive one, there's well-known brands out there like Tiffin, SLR Magic, Polar Pro. Koken makes some nice ones as well. A new brand, or not a new brand, but something I've been using on my drone and I've seen a lot of good reviews about, is the Freewell range, which they actually make some good looking ND filters. And also then of course the Hoya ones is also quite nice. So yes, that was my review on the Gloxy variable ND filter. Hope you found some value from this video. If you have, leave a comment below, and you'd like to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe. Go make it happen. I'll see you next week.